Good morning. I'm Cece Havens, and although I've been coming here for a long time, this is my first speech, the icebreaker speech. And the Toastmaster manual states that the more personal my icebreaker speech, the warmer my relationship will be with the audience. I'm an erotic memoirist, so it may get a little hot in here in the next 7.5 minutes. Many of you may have heard the concept of the inner child, that childlike aspect of a person's psyche that never really leaves us, especially if there's been some trauma. I refer to mine as my inner Catholic girl. You can imagine her, a tow-headed 7-year-old, all dressed up for her first communion, in a veil and a white eyelet dress worn by my 4 older sisters. But I also have a part of my psyche that loves lingerie and being naked outdoors in rivers and hot springs. I refer to her as my inner stripper. She writes erotica. So on one hand, I have this part of myself that turns bright red at the mere mention of the word sex. And on the other, I have this very sensuous part that's written an erotic memoir about the femme fatale essence of whitewater as an erotic third in my marriage to a raft guide. I was able to manage the two of them for years, tucked away at my cabin in the mountains, doing my spiritual practices of yoga and meditation to appease my inner Catholic girl. To embrace my inner stripper, I wrote erotic essays about the sexy outdoor adventures and misadventures I was having all over the American West with my outdoor guide of a husband and his whitewater mistress. After a few years of this, I achieved 35 of these nature-inspired erotic essays. They're beautiful and soulful, the type of erotica I always looked for but could rarely find. I really wanted to share them with other women and couples. So I found myself in the stage of my development as a writer where I had to start showing myself. Gone are the days where a writer can type away in obscurity at a mountain cabin. Today, to be a writer, I have to have an internet presence, a website, a blog, and I have to be engaging in social media platforms like Facebook, Google+, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube. There's many of them. This is how writers today find and engage with our audience. My inner stripper, of course, gets off on this. She loves to be seen. But my inner Catholic girl is shy and sexually stunted. Remember, she's 7 and wears a veil. I tried locking her into a confessional and sneaking off to read my stories when they were accepted at the Literary Arts Division of the Seattle Erotic Arts Festival a few years ago. Well, I learned that there is no ditching your inner child. I literally shook in my high-heeled boots up on that stage, which was my first indication that I needed to start coming to Toastmasters. After that, my inner Catholic girl dug in the heels of her black patent leather shoes and refused, absolutely refused, to move forward with the whole erotica writing vision. To further complicate the issue, as if it needs to get any more complicated, I have a professional massage therapist who took sides with my inner Catholic girl. Professional massage therapy and erotica do not mix. No way, no how. The profession has spent decades legitimizing itself and moving away from the whole massage parlor association. I've been a therapist for 22 years. I've always had impeccable boundaries and ethics in that realm. And I just couldn't do anything that would compromise that integrity. So for a while, my inner stripper's stilettos got shoved into the back of the closet. I quit trying to find a publisher. I abandoned my blog, Blog Me Sexy, that encouraged me and my readers to cultivate our most sensuous selves. My husband started his own business, and I was busy helping him, so that's kind of how I justified it. But then a sad thing happened. I started to lose touch with my most expressive, sensual, creative self. My marriage was strained under the stress of starting this new business. We weren't very happy or sexy anymore. I realized that this was the kind of climate that destroys marriages. High stress, not being true to your passion, and letting fear reign. But then, another psychological concept came into play. That which you resist persists. My inner stripper made a comeback like Tina Turner. But this time, she was armed with some solutions. A pen name. I had some sensual photos that partially obscured my face. And a goal to get my certification in craniosacral therapy, which would remove the whole massage conflict. Craniosacral therapy is a light touch mode of healing that is done with the client fully clothed. It gets deeper than an elbow ever could. It's the reason my hands still work after 22 years. So after much study and passing the craniosacral certification exam, I had a session scheduled with one of the master teachers that examined me. I told her what I wanted to work on, some persistent pain in my right hip, and now that I had my certification, moving forward with my whole erotica writing goal. So it turns out the pain in my right hip was related, surprise, surprise, to some long-held sexual shame. My teacher released fascial restrictions in my pelvis, and through therapeutic imaging and dialoguing, she had my erotica writer, C.C. Havens, go back into the hallway of my 4th grade Catholic grade school and not only rescue my inner Catholic girl from a sexually embarrassing and humiliating situation, but she empowered her as well. It took about a month, but everything shifted after that. I had a surge of creative energy. I did a final rewrite on my manuscript. I submitted it to 3 publishers. One of them, Booktrope, wrote back with an acceptance. I've just finished the proofread. We're putting the finishing touches on the cover, and it should go into production next week. I've launched my website, cchavens.com, and I'm blogging again and engaging with my future audience on social media. So I want to thank all of you for letting me hang out on the fringes of your group for so many years, because I had to integrate all these parts of myself, my inner Catholic girl, my professional massage therapist, and my inner stripper, before I could stand up here today and give this icebreaker speech. In closing, I'd like to share one more thing. In my blog, one of my missions is to redefine sexy, to blow the lid off the way the American media has warped the definition with unrealistic images of beauty and overt sexuality. We all know sexy is so much more than that. And one of the most palpable displays of sexiness I'd ever seen was at my first Toastmasters meeting here. The professionalism, the passion, the confidence, the willingness to face fear, that is sexy. The 6:45 a.m. meeting on a Monday morning is sexy. If it wasn't, I'd never be able to get my inner stripper out of bed to come here. Thank you.